Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen.
With me today is life coach and LOA teacher Joel Elston.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
I feel like a broken record, Joel, because once again, I'm going to say I got the idea from a post you put on Facebook.
Well, I do put a lot of posts on Facebook, so that is a good resource, I guess, to start.
I guess
things.
it is, yeah. Well,
yeah.
That's why I go there, because I know I'm going to find something every single time.
Yes. So
and
that's good.
I found something this time. It was actually the first post I looked at. It was a post. I don't remember the exact wording, but the gist of it was that you want to be careful who you're surrounding yourself with. And that really comes down to the phrase, the popular phrase these days is finding your tribe.
Yes.
Finding your people.
Yes.
We've talked about this before, but we're going to do another deep dive on that one. Let's start off with a very basic concept, let's kind of define our term. Why is it important to find your people?
Well, everything I believe in, everything that I've experienced in my life, as you know, with the law of attraction, there's energy. We're all energy, and we have a tendency to exchange energy with people, good or bad, happy or sad, depressed or elated. There's an energy exchange between people. So when you have people who are chronically depressed or down or negative, and you're around them, no matter how great you're feeling, there's a tendency to allow that energy to pull on yours. Now, there's hope that your energy would pull that person toward you, but it could go either way. When you're looking at that. So to me, the people that I need in my orbit are people that really get me, understand me, and I want to be, no matter what happens in my life, I want to be able to approach it with my correct mindset. And I need people around me that can. Here's a great example. I have a friend. She helps me out with work stuff. We're really good friends, and so I had a really stressful Sunday, probably about a month ago. I've had a lot of stressful Sundays. So this Sunday was, it might have been around Easter, somewhere around there. Anyway, so it was this event. I had a client that was supposed to move into a property the following day. And I got information that the landlord was not going to rent to him the day before. We had electricity in his name. We had movers in place. We had all these things. I might have mentioned this to you before. So
I remember the story. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, very stressful moment. So I texted her and said, look, this deal fell through. And I was in a panic mode because there's a lot of stuff that has to be done. Plus I have sessions to do. It wasn't Easter because I wasn't working on Easter, but I had some sessions I was going to do on that Sunday afternoon. So it's like, okay, on a Sunday, getting all this done is almost impossible. So I texted her that. I did my sessions. I got done. And she said, man, you have such an exciting life. There's always, and I laughed and I said, well, I needed that perspective. It was really important for her. It really changed my entire day because it reminded me, this is exciting. While those things are annoying and stressful and all the other stuff, it's nothing that can't be handled. Not only did she help me out by saying that was exciting, this is an exciting world you live in, but she also handled everything she could handle on a Sunday. And she said, I'll take care of the rest of the stuff tomorrow morning. And I never had to do anything. So it was this amazing reminder that having that right person in my life, and that's one instance. Imagine having nothing but right people in your life. Whoa. There's a tendency to hang on to people. And I'm not about abandoning friends and family, but having that, what I call that inner circle or that group, that tribe, or those people right up close to you, it's imperative that they are of like mind to me. Mm-hmm. I want people who believe in the law of attraction and the power of it. I want people that look for the positives, not the negatives.
Yes.
I need those people in my life. So I attribute my success a lot to, of course, the law of attraction, how I turn my life around, but also the people that I found along the way that are like-minded, that if I need somebody and anybody can have a bad day. Oh, anybody can have a catastrophic day. Doesn't mean that I expect everybody to be up every single day, but just the general mindset, the general positivity, the belief that everything's going to work out, the belief that we have access to whatever we want in the world, as long as our mindset's right, and we're willing to do the things to get there. As long as that's my tribe, I love that. I love people who are driven or hungry. I don't want people with a fixed mindset. I like a growth mindset. I'm not critical of people that aren't, though. If you're not my tribe, that's okay. But when I have those people in my orbit wall, life becomes, it amplifies everything to a really high degree.
Yeah, that's a key word, amplify. I like that you chose that word, because that is the effect. The effect is that every time, like you said, when we interact with each other, we do so on an energetic level. And so there's a giving and a receiving of energy that goes on. And when one person is giving energy to another, the other person is receiving, when they send it back in some way through, conversation or action or something, and then it comes back to us, and then we send it back to them and they send it back to us, that's where the amplification comes in.
Yes, completely.
It's like a momentum that builds because of that exchange of energy going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then you get more than two people involved doing that, and it just becomes a geometric thing. It does. It explodes like crazy.
Yes. And and that is, to me, that's the most, I like people that are driven. I like people that, that are like-minded, but also I don't want people, I like contrasting ideas as well. It isn't that I just need somebody that agrees with me all the way. The right people will challenge my beliefs in a positive way. Like, have you ever thought about it this way? I like people that will look at different ideas. I love to brainstorm ideas. When one of the things I love working with my younger clients, they don't have a filter built in of what could go wrong. So they always have amazing ideas. I always consult with my youngest clients because they'll bring a perspective that an adult mind can never see. Right. So, having the right people, it isn't about age, but to me, it's about perspective. It's about mindset. It's not even about intelligence. While I certainly love intelligent people around me, it's people that bring that energy of, we got this, we can do it. We're going to go through this. And that's a gung-ho mentality that just motivates me every day. And so having the people in your orbit, and that opens up the question, how do you get rid of the people in your orbit that aren't there? And that can become tricky, because there's sometimes these people that you inherit energy, sometimes people with bad energy, and they're there, and you don't want to, you always want to be kind, but at the end of the day, I can't be like, I know people that I have sort of culled away from my life, got them out of there, who all they do is just, everything's negative. They're always sick. They're always looking at what, that we live in a terrible time, and whichever political side they're on, everything's falling apart. I can't do that drain long term. I just can't. Right. And I'm not saying that's their energy. They need to find their tribe. And, but for me, I just need to make sure it matches where I'm at. Like I said, I like how that amplifies. I like how that energy exchange increases, and with that, you also tend to attract more of those people. The more of the people you have in the orbit, the more you can attract more of those people, which is amazing.
That's absolutely true.
Yes.
I want to throw something else out there too, because you mentioned people who have a particular political bent, one way or another. It doesn't really matter which way.
Right.
But as you say, they need their own tribe. I used to be in a political tribe years ago. I haven't been in a long time, thank goodness. But I used to be. And one thing I discovered about being in a political tribe is, you find a whole bunch of people who are like-minded, but it could also not serve you.
Oh, no.
It's very possible to be in a tribe that isn't serving you because it doesn't feel good. It feels draining, actually, and for a very good reason, because it is draining. It's especially political connections. Political connections tend to be very draining because they're about taking energy rather than giving it.
Right. Well, the politics today has become, and it's very, very profitable for the news media as well to participate with this concept, but negative wins. the most negative wins. There's the upcoming election, presidential election. There's very few people that are voting for either of these candidates. There's a lot of people that are voting against one or the other, but there's very few people that are going to say, well, we got a winner here. Wow, look at this bright, positive young man that's going to lead our country. There's nobody saying that,
There's no JFK this year.
Exactly. So without that, we have to. But the key is how do you even word this? The people don't realize that they're miserable. That's the key. They really believe that the source of their misery is the other side. So my world's messed up because the gays can get married in the church somehow, or whatever their thing is,
Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah. So whatever their thing is, they think that the source of that is the other side. And now when my side wins, things are going to be just so fantastic and it's going to be great. It never is, because they're going to still be complaining about, well, the other side's still attacking my side. And
that's right.
And you're stuck in all that. Then you have me, who I just don't care. There's none of this that matters. I mean, my life is not going to change. I'm going to be successful and happy no matter who wins. It's just, I've proven that time and time again. There's not been a year in the last 15 years that my life hasn't improved, no matter who was president.
You reminded me of why it is that I was able to justify to myself moving away from that old group that I was a part of previously. The reason I was able to move away was one day I kind of woke up and I said, we never win anything.
Yeah.
Even when we win, we don't win.
Yeah.
And that was kind of an eye opener. I mean, even when you win, you still lose.
Yes.
And that's when I started formulating my theory that now it's not my belief where politics is concerned. I would actually consider it close to a fact, which is nobody ever wins in politics.
No.
Everybody is losing. It's a lose-lose scenario. And when I finally saw that, actually it became very easy to leave politics at that point, despite the fact that it had dominated my life for years, because I realized I'm not gaining. All I'm doing is losing. I'm not getting anything out of this.
There's no benefit, and plus the energy and the positivity that's gained by not looking at it. I also have another example similar to that, and it's going to seem so odd and counterintuitive. So for the longest time on Facebook, I belonged to every law of attraction group in Facebook.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Yeah, and I realized after time. A long time. I don't belong to any of them anymore, because it literally, what's taking place there is the exact opposite of what needs to be taking place there.
Yes.
I'm laughing because you would think those groups would be my people, but they're not, because of the way, and I don't want to get into arguments or debates with the law of attraction with people. I just have I haven't found one that really was like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. You guys are really tuned in with this. It's just usually arguing, or, it's like anything else on Facebook. It's just all, almost all ego based. And it's very odd to watch happen.
Well, it's victim based, really.
Yes.
That's what the root of it is, because like you said, there's a lot of finger pointing that goes on.
Yes.
There's a lot of blaming. Or maybe you were saying that about politics. You could have been saying about LOA groups. It would work either way.
Either way. Yeah. Same thing. Yeah.
It's essentially the same thing. Their stuff is the cause of my problem.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Person over there is the reason why I can't attract what I want. That experience, that person, that group, it's just refusing to accept responsibility within.
Yes. And when you the longest time, not the longest time, I didn't tolerate that too long, but I would, if I were to contribute to a post and give my perspective, then I would have 80 people telling me why I'm wrong with my perspective.
Of course.
And then, of course, I'm responding by, you can't tell me I'm wrong, because it's not about that. And so I finally just had to step away, because it had the opposite effect of what I was hoping it would have. And the law of attraction, as we know, it literally states that 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 which is likened to itself is drawn. What your energy. So when your energy is victim based, you're just attracting victim situations to be more, and it's this idea that the people that sit around my table metaphorically, I'm not often at a table with people sitting around it, but that theory,
the metaphorical table,
the metaphorical table. But those are the people that I can rely on to deliver that energy, or I'm there for them to deliver that energy and help adjust perspective, because there's nothing that matters more than our perspective. And having that the right people can help adjust your perspective and help you see it a little differently. And that's all it takes sometimes. It just, like you and I were talking before the show and about some stuff you're going through with your business and all that. I'm like, well, it's just plants. And it's and I would jokingly say that because it's much more than that, obviously. But it is this idea that you need those people that can be that contrast in a positive direction. When everything's stressful, you need somebody to go, hey, you're doing great. It's good.
I'm also reminded of a project that you and I were involved with about 6 years ago, with a book that I collected a whole bunch of stories from people who had LOA type experiences, put it into a book called Your Daily Dose of Happy, so named after the podcast. And it was about promoting the podcast too. Now, talk about like-minded people. I mean, it was a huge collection, 35 people, something like that, contributed to that book. And it was just this room full, so to speak, this room full of people who were like-minded, who had different beliefs, different perspectives and so forth, but overall sharing this understanding and this appreciation for what we call law of attraction.
Sure.
The reason I want to bring that one up is that I want to point out that even in that group, there was actually one person who had a victim mindset. And I won't say who it is.
Yeah, I remember.
It doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah.
If you really want to know, you can find the book on the LOA Today app. So go download the app and you can look at the book there and you can figure out for yourself who it is. But the point is that this one person had this really strong victim mindset. And that person and I got into a conversation about it one day. And that person gave me a lot of pushback about how I didn't understand this and I didn't appreciate that and blah, 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 blah. And I said, oh, okay, well, whatever. Interesting thing happened. That person had a career going that was basically related. This person wasn't a coach, but kind of related to that. It was sort of a therapeutic kind of a realm.
Right.
And within 1 year, that person had withdrawn from all the LOA groups on Facebook. Their practice had closed up. The website that person had put together was gone. The whole thing just disappeared. Mm-hmm. And the reason I bring that up is, first of all, it doesn't really matter that there was a person who wasn't truly of the right mindset and was part of my circle. It actually worked out just fine. It took care of itself. And the second part comes out of the thing that I just said. It took care of itself. It took care of itself with her too.
Yes.
She was basically pushing this whole mindset. And the mindset ended up tearing down her career.
Yeah.
So what are the lessons we can take from that? Well, first of all, we don't have to do anything. It's not like I never had to do a single thing. It just took care of itself. All I had to do was just maintain my mindset on where I wanted it to be.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because when you keep your mindset where you need it to be, you will attract the people that are matching that. You also, the other people that aren't matching that will fall off as well.
They do. Yeah.
They'll just, you don't have to tell them.
Nope. They
just go away. I've had, I have friends that I've known for a long time. My best friend, let's say my high school best friend, for example, he thinks I'm absolutely crazy now. He thinks I'm bizarre. We're friends, we're Facebook, hey, happy birthday kind of thing. But we would no more have dinner together and that's okay. It's just it's just a different mindset. He views the world as very, negative. Everything's falling apart. And he's baffled that I just don't think the things that matter, that he matters, are there. And we never had a falling out, but we have just fallen apart.
Right.
And it's okay. I'm good with that. I am very grateful for the time we were best friends. He was very important in my life, and that doesn't change anything because we're not friends now per se, or not that close friendship. But I don't want anything bad to happen to him, and we basically see each other every now and then, and he'll check in. Or when my dad passed away, he's very close to my dad. Sorry to hear about your dad. When his dad passed away, same thing. And but at the end of the day, it's just not my energy anymore. That's okay. I have family members that I've had to, we're not pushing the same direction. It's okay.
Yeah.
You can let that go. But I do find the people that support this mindset, and I keep attracting those people, and I hold on to them. And they're in my group. They have access. They have have access to them, and it's just such a great way to live when you sort of create your tribe based on your energy. That life becomes so much easier, because, like you're saying, the amplification of the law of attraction, the amplification of that energy is tangible.
Yes, it's tangible. If you feel it, you feel it at a root level. You feel it at a deep, deep level. Yes. And you can also feel it shallow too. You can feel it both ways. I mean, it's not like it's limited. It can only be in that realm. No, I mean, you feel it all over.
Yes, completely. And that's what I love about it. Having those people that you're very comfortable around. They get you it can be romantic, but it doesn't matter. It's more the other side. The romantic side almost screws it up, if it's, you know what I mean?
It can work either way.
Yeah, because it can go there. But I'm talking about whether it's romantic or not, having that deep understanding of energy and how it works and what goes. It's just, and I also a big believer in synchronicity, that with the law of attraction, the tool of synchronicity is often in play, where you attract, as I said before, the most random people show up, and you're like, oh, how did that happen? The people that are closest to me right now are just really nothing in common. But somehow we become very, very close. And it's I see how it happened, but along the way, I always just sort of discounted it, like, yeah, well, this person keeps showing up. They're really nice. And, and then all of a sudden you realize, wow, we've gotten really close.
Yeah. And that's fun. That's fun when that happens. Something else I was just noticing today, actually, and what you just said kind of cued it in my mind. I have a number of different software projects that I've been working on, and I've made reference to them on the program here over the last couple of months. I finally reached the point where I said, I loved the fact that AI had been helping me with it. I've been able to make some progress, but at the end of the day, I still didn't want to be a programmer. I was able to do it better now, but I still didn't want to do it.
Right.
So I decided, okay, I'm going to start hiring developers again. I'm going to start going that route. The AI, by the way, helped. Just as an aside, that helped tremendously with that, because the AI has helped me to structure the instructions that I give to the developers much better than I used to do. I'm getting better results as a result. So that's a really
awesome.
But one thing that I did want to bring in, and the reason I thought of this, is I was having an exchange with a new guy I just recently hired within the last week to work on an app for my gardening business. And he's been doing some work. I'm doing very good work. He's from the Ukraine. Of course, that's a war zone, but he's not near the front. He lives on the other side of the country, but he is of age where he could potentially be drafted at some point. So, I mean, that's always a concern. But we were having a conversation, just getting to know each other. And in that conversation, he was asking me, so what's your life like? What do you do? Do you have family? How do you spend your day? All that kind of thing. And I found myself answering the way so often most of us do, certainly the way I do in terms of what goes on with my life, which is, well, I actually don't have a lot of people from my family in my life. My parents are deceased. My brother and sister live on another part of the country. I don't really see them very often. We talk by phone. That's about it. I don't have any relatives in the area. I'm a social dancer, so I'll get out and do some dancing. A large part of my life is doing the projects, and another large part is doing this podcast with you and others. But that's pretty much what I was telling him. And I realized after I said all that to him was, it sounded almost like there's nobody in my life, which is exactly not the truth. The truth is, I have contacts like you that I've met mainly through doing this podcast that are my tribe. Mm-hmm. And I value them so highly that they're almost like second nature to me. I don't even think about it, but I just appreciate them like crazy. So I almost want to go back to them and say, hey, Sarah, by the way, I want you to know I have some people that I'm really close to in my life. They're just not family. They're just not friends I've known for years and years and years and years and years. These are relatively new friends, but they're my tribe.
Yeah.
And I love them.
And that's I moved to Richmond in 2008, I believe. And, within that, I didn't know a single person. I didn't know a soul here. As you know, I'm in the gym. The gym is my source of everything. So I started working out. Most of my friends, and you see somebody in the gym every day, you speak, and then eventually, you get to know the ones you like. And then when I started my private practice, obviously you get, pretty well known. I mean, there's people in town. I mean, I know so many people in town. I'll go somewhere and I'll go out to dinner and there'll be 4 or 5 people I know. And I'm not claiming I'm famous or anything like that. But I'm simply saying I'm very well known in town. And there's a lot of people that have assumed I've been here my entire life. It's just sort of that thing. And so, my mom and dad have passed away. My sister lives in Florida. My son Justin's with me. My son Chris is in Missouri. And, it's as far as real family here, it's like, there's nobody here. But I have so many people. We have places we go to for Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I have, our neighbors and I are very close. We're always hanging out, doing stuff together. I'm the backup when nobody needs it. Kid misses the bus, I'm taking the kid. It's just this really great tribe that I developed here. And I've never been a big fan of the Richmond area per se. It's not a bad place, but it's not a great place. But at the end of the day, I've certainly become a mesh with my people here in Richmond. That's why it isn't the city; it's the people that are here that I'm really into. I love my people here.
Yes, that's a very key point. It isn't the place; it's the people.
Yes,
because I mean, I've actually lived. I lived for a year at Smith Mountain Lake, which is something you've actually considered getting some property at, and it's a beautiful lake. And you know what? Other than my family, because my family were living on the lake at the time, I had no contacts from the lake.
Yeah.
In other words, I wasn't finding any of my tribe there. So as beautiful as it wasn't worth staying.
Yes. And that's and that's what people find. You see these destination places to live, but that's why people stay in the suburbs of Richmond, Virginia, because like my neighborhood has to be the safest place in the entire world. We have nothing. There's no crime. It's everybody looks out for everybody. It's just the safest place in the world. We don't worry about stuff like that. The big event is some teenagers the other night vandalized our little basketball court. And I mean, that's gigantic news. The entire police force turned out. Right. Forensic investigations. I mean, it's this weird little, but it's fine. So the old saying, it isn't where you are, it's how you are. It's who you have with you. I could pick up and move anywhere in the world. I've looked at Smith Mountain Lake. I still have property in Florida. I could go anywhere, but when I weigh moving and getting away, I mean, I still like, what about my people? Can I move all of them with me?
Right.
Because I can't. And, but I don't want to be away from my people that I've developed here. So that's sort of the push pull. And, you've just sort of come to accept that, this is a beautiful area because of the people here to me.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. And I would add to that for myself. I mean, I've laid out at times here on the program how I've thought about where do I want to live. Since my divorce, I'm thinking about maybe snowbirding, living in the South in the winter, in the North during the summer, that kind of thing. And thinking, maybe I'd like to live on a shore. Not really sure. But as I've been playing ideas out, I also do searches online because I also want to find out what's the likelihood I'm going to find my tribe wherever it is I'm considering moving to. So for me, part of my tribe is dance. I want to find people who are into dance. So I look, is there some significant amount of the kind of dance I like going on in an area I'm looking at? If there isn't, I rule it out. I don't care how pretty it is. It's just not worth it.
Right.
You know, I haven't quite figured out how to do, to look for the kind of tribe that I have attracted here through doing the podcast, because it's all online. I haven't figured out how that translates to.
Well, wherever you move, that tribe is online. Doesn't matter.
Exactly. That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I'm not having to evaluate a place quite so much in terms of the tribe, and yet I do want to have more of my tribe of our kind, and basically all encompassing, where you were describing the kind of person who's into law of attraction and all that kind of thing. I want to have more of that kind of tribe around me locally, in addition to the online world. So I'm thinking about, how can I find that? Where am I most likely to find that? And I don't have any clear answers yet, but I don't have to yet. The point is, I'm looking for it. I'm making that part of my criteria for where do I live.
Yeah, and I like that, and the idea, I'm capable of picking up, and I can move in a heartbeat. I can move anywhere. I haven't, but I could just take off and move, and if I wanted to. I just don't know where, like you're saying, I'm going to find the tribe that I have. I can do it all virtually, as long as I need to. But for me, like, I have this thing. I'm not a guy that does I'm not a off the grid guy. I want to have conveniences. I don't want to be 30 minutes from the grocery store. I want to be in between 7 grocery stores in about a 10-minute. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I used to do that.
I don't want internet. I want the highest speed internet possibly.
Internet, right?
Yeah. So I want Chipotle. I want my gyms. I have this list of things. So when I'm narrowing it down, like Smith Mountain Lake is beautiful, and Lake Gadsden in South Virginia is very pretty as well. Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah.
However, the internet in these places are very sketchy.
Yep.
Doesn't work. Cell phones don't work real well sometimes. There's a lot of things that aren't there because of their location. So, it's like, okay, I can't really live there. And my island that Anna Maria Island, I'm so fond of, that so many people have overrun that, and you can't get anywhere on the island. So, but it had all of those things. I loved it because I had the beach, I had high-speed internet, I had all the food, all the great restaurants were in town. I had great restaurants on the island, but yet so many people discovered it. So that sort of, I can't move there because of that. So until I find something that meets or exceeds where I'm at, I'm just hanging out here.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get that. It makes sense to me. It fits in nicely with our conversation about how important it is to surround yourself with your tribe, with the right people in your life. Part of that, though, also has to involve understanding what makes them your best tribe. Why is it that one person, we can point to, this person's always focusing on politics, or that person's always focusing on the news, or this person's always looking at horrible weather forecasts, or whatever. But ultimately, we also need to identify within the people themselves, regardless of what their interests are, what is it about the people themselves that we're looking for? I mean, you identified one really key component, which is they have to be positively oriented, and I agree with that one. That one's really important for me as well. But there's also other things too. I mean, and this is it's partly a self-discovery process, because we're trying to identify what is it about me that I want to see mirrored back to me from others. So when you think about that, how do you let's kind of put ourselves in the space of where each one of us was before we start putting our tribes together. Okay. How did we come to that conclusion about, where am I going to go looking first? How am I going to find my tribe? Who is my tribe? How am I going to identify what that person is?
Well, and also within that context of, and this is really important, and one of the, I'm thinking it's the law of attraction by Abraham Hicks. Esther mentions a buyer doesn't want to attract another buyer. Right. A buyer wants to attract a seller. So I have, my friend that I was talking about earlier that helps me out with so much. she is simply the most organized person I know. She can pull up anything, everything's filed. This is shocking to many people in our audience. Joel is not organized at all. Okay. So let's just state that. I mean, I'm not. I have a slight touch of ADHD. Is a very generous way to say that. So sometimes you need a contrasting energy that complements. So I need her skill set of being able to keep it. I'm like when we do something or whatever, I'm very impromptu. She likes to plan. I like to, what I mean? There's really a contrast that really serves us well. And we're better together because of, and the other people in my tribe. So I like the contrast. I don't need a bunch of Joels there either. That would be an organized chaos. I mean, disorganized chaos. If, imagine 10 people like me in the group, that would be terrible. We would be really positive, but we would never get anything done. And so the conversations would just be endless about nothing. And so, you need to attract that. So when you are attracting, you need the benefit of that energy. So a contrasting energy fits nicely. Often it doesn't have to be the same energy, and that's an important fact here.
So what you're reinforcing for me is that my role in our relationship is to keep you on track during conversations here on
That's why we go so well, because
all right.
I'm
glad to know what my role is. I always wondered what my role was.
Well, we would be talking about neutered skunks if we weren't. And I don't even know where that came from, but you were capable. We would be way down rabbit holes, but you always pull me back. If I start on a rant about the Catholic Church or something, you just pull me right on back and we keep going. So it's really important.
Well, at least I have a title for the episode: Neutered Skunks.
Neutered Skunks. Just an absurd thought, as you know.
I'll have to put a colon after that one to explain it.
Yeah, I don't even know where that came from. But but you're asking why. I want to attract. I want to attract the people that make me laugh. As you know, me and you, we always laugh, even when things are tough. We laugh every time we laugh. And to me, humor is really high on my list of people that can laugh at stuff. It's like. Another friend and I were driving down the road the other day, and not everybody could get this. And so I just happened to say, I said, "Hey, you missed that last pothole." Because she had hit every one in a row up until that point.
Very subtle. Very subtle.
Yeah. Well, of course, she died laughing, and then she intentionally didn't miss another pothole the rest of the trip. So, but
she had to live up to it. You'd set the standard for her.
Or being able to have just weirdness, make just a situation like, being able to pull something up, and it's just I can find anything to laugh at. And so, humor to me is really people that are really serious and don't laugh and don't have humor. They're not going to last long because, yes, it's like I have some people in my orbit, business wise, that are like, "Oh, okay, can we get back to the point?" And I go, "No, I'm not done with my joke. So we're going to have to get back to that in a minute."
You'd be a lot of fun at a board meeting. I could tell.
Oh, yes, they don't like that because
Well, let's just point out that the word board can be spelled a couple of different ways.
Well, board meetings are board meetings. They are. And so I do liven them up with, interesting tidbits.
Yes, I can well imagine.
Yeah.
And if they're not smiling, that's on them. That's not on you.
Most people eventually laugh. I remember, a month ago, I got pulled over by a police officer for speeding.
Yeah. And
I told you about that. And
right.
He was very professional, but he wouldn't laugh at any of my jokes at all. And I found that really sort of, I took that personally. And so, I kept, like when he said, "This is pretty serious, Mr. Elson," I was trying to joke. I kept going, Is it really? I'm doing 6 miles over the speed limit. I mean, there's probably in the radius, there's somebody just got shot. There's kids being, but me doing that 6 miles is pretty serious. Again, I got nothing from him, nothing, no humor, nothing back. It was terrible.
I think it's safe to say he will not be invited to your next tribal meeting.
He will not. He will not. He would not fit in my tribe at all because, and also in a more serious note, people that make everything a catastrophe. I can't have those people like, oh my God, this is the worst case scenario. It's like it's not even the top 100 worst cases. It's not sort of. I don't have that energy to always be in that awfulizing, making everything the worst. And I don't have that energy anymore. I spent my early life expecting the worst, and the worst kept happening.
I remember years ago, there was one of the earliest episodes you and I did together where we kind of coined that term awfulizing.
Yes.
And I remember, first of all, my reaction, because you're the one who said it first. When
Right.
you said the word, it just instantly hit me between the eyes. Like, oh my God, that is such a perfect word for describing what it is that human beings tend to do.
Yes.
It just, in one word, it just expresses how someone can take a situation and make it sound as bad as possible.
Yes.
It doesn't, it could be as simple as I tripped. And if you awfulize it enough, it can turn into an ambulance trip to the hospital that almost leads to certain death.
Oh, and how you look at things so much. I expect things to work out always. I bring that to the table. So even when bad things happen in my life, I'm expecting them to work out well, and they generally do. So I posted the other day, I had a really bizarre week last week. It was,
yes, I remember that.
We talked. So last Sunday night, my son Justin received an accidental gunshot to the back of the leg. His fault. It was a ricochet. He's completely fine. He's going to be good. So no, obviously that could have gone a whole different direction.
Absolutely.
But it did not. Then the next day in my office, a client had a seizure from a benzodiazepine withdrawal. I was able to get the ambulance there. Fortunately, I knew what was happening. They were able to quickly revive him. They gave him some benzos and they got him to the hospital. He's fine. So on Wednesday, my son Justin was hit by a car on Interstate 95. A lady merged into his lane. He's fine. The car has some dents in it. It's a 2015 Acura. It doesn't really,
he was having himself a week too. He
was having a week, and so all of these things, go on. And then last Thursday, I come out of my office, and the entire police force and bomb squad were in the building next to mine. Somebody had dropped a suspicious package off in front of the Jewish Family Services there. So we didn't know if the whole thing was about to blow up or not. So you can say that was a bad week, or everything worked out great week. Nobody died. There was, Justin's car, and he's been wanting to sell the car anyway. And this way, they may even total it, which would be great for him.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
So they're and everybody's safe. So my point is, I look at that week last week. Well, I certainly had a lot of moments of stress. It turns out everything worked out absolutely best case scenario. There were no worst case scenarios in my week last week. That's amazing.
Not only is it amazing, it's actually a fairly common kind of occurrence. I'm not saying that living day to day where every single day you have a crazy event like that. I'm not saying that's normal.
Yes.
But what is normal, a lot more normal than people perhaps realize, is having a crazy event happen that produces no negative result.
Yes.
That happens in a tremendous amount of times in a lot of people's lives without being noticed as such. They'll notice the part about the thing that went crazy. That's the story that they'll tell. But isn't it interesting how often we just skip over the fact that, oh, by the way, it all worked out well?
Remember I'm being a little facetious here. Of course, you remember the COVID-19 stuff. Okay, that was wild.
I don't think I'll ever forget that one.
Yeah, that was very weird. And one of the things I found this the other day, because it was March 13th of 2020 when everything sort of shut down.
Right.
I know that because I was at a movie, and that's why that'll always stay in my mind. It was a Friday. So everything just sort of shut down. School shut down, everything. So all we were seeing on the news was X number of people died today. X number of people died today. X number of people died today. And the numbers were I don't know if they're real or inflated or whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. They were told. Then somewhere along the way, somebody with some common sense posted this was pretty early. 5 million people have recovered from the COVID vaccine, the COVID virus. So it's like it's the first time anybody ever said, 5 million people. It was like, 10,000 people died today. 5 million people recovered last month from COVID. 5 million recovered in that first month. And so that didn't make the headlines. That didn't sell. 5 million people to 10,000 people. And again, I'm sorry for those 10,000. But that was the ratio the entire time. But all the attention was on all these people died, and it's horrible. I'm never going to hear a different version of that from me. But the focus was solely on what was going wrong versus what was, there's a lot of people that are healing from this. And I think if we'd put more emphasis on that, we would have had fewer people die. I really believe that.
I totally believe that. Yeah. I totally agree with you. We've talked about placebo. That's really what that is. The placebo versus the nocebo effect. I think nocebo is actually more important than placebo. They're really equivalent. Right. But I think that for those who aren't really clear, placebo is where you believe, or perhaps more accurately, your doctor believes you're going to be fine, so therefore you end up being fine. Nocebo is the opposite. That's where your doctor thinks that your chances are poor, and so you end up declining and perhaps even dying.
Yes.
That is the nocebo effect, and that, I think, is exactly what you're driving at there. The nocebo effect is real. It has been documented in numerous scientific studies, and yet this was the part that just blew my mind. We had an entire medical establishment that intentionally ignored what they knew about that.
Yes.
It took me a long time to realize that it was intentional. I thought for the longest time they just kind of forgotten. They just skipped. No, I learned it was actually intentional.
Yes.
And to this day, I'm still blown away by the fact that they intended that.
Yes.
And why did they intend it? Not because they wanted to harm people, but because they felt it was important to maintain that viewpoint in order to keep the body count down in the hospitals.
It has the exact opposite. And that's the thing for me, that there's a show that I used to watch a long time ago called House, Dr. House. He was this weird doctor, very crazy, but brilliant. And one of the episodes was he was on a plane, him and his boss were on a plane, and somebody got sick. And there was, then everybody started getting sick. And then he stood up. He said, "I'm a doctor." He said, we have a very serious situation. Tell me if you have left side pain. And all these people raised their hand. Tell me if your right ear hurts, and everybody raised their hand and say, more importantly, do you feel stomach distress? And, everybody's raising their hand and said, well, in a few minutes, most of you will start vomiting. And they started vomiting. And afterwards he's like, okay, nobody has anything here. And just the whole plane bought into the narrative they were sick. And I forgot what they thought they had versus what they did have. And it turned out it was basically one person had food poisoning. The rest convinced themselves there's an airborne virus in the plane. And it just, that happens, that when you have the herd mentality of, I told you when all this fell apart, I don't know if we were on the show together or not. I was telling my friends for sure. And all my clients, when all this, I said, look, this is one of those things they do. We're going to come out stronger, better in this. I don't know how. I can't tell you, but I never closed down. My office never shut down. I never quit seeing clients. And
I think it's fair to say we did come through it stronger.
We did. I certainly did. Yeah.
Well, no, I think it's safely true of everyone who survived that pandemic, which was, the vast majority of the population.
Yeah.
Everybody who came through that was stronger. Anyone who doubts that, look at all the positive changes that came out of it. Like you, I don't say that there were no negatives. There clearly were negatives, but look at the positives that came out of it. One of the biggest ones has been popularly known within the press as the Great Resignation. It was a direct consequence of the pandemic. And the Great Resignation is where people who worked in the service industries finally reached a point they said, enough. We're not appreciated enough. We're not getting paid enough. We're getting out. And they got out. And an amazing thing happened. As people left the service industries, suddenly service providers said, whoa, we don't have enough employees. We're going to have to do something that we've been resisting for years. We're going to pay them more.
Yeah.
So that today, your typical service worker makes somewhere on average, now this is going to vary from place to place around the country, but somewhere around 50 to 100% more than they made before the pandemic.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I mean, that's a huge positive change.
Well, and they have the pandemic brought a lot of lessons of what to do and what it was, no matter what. I heard someone the other day say, here's the lessons of the pandemic, and they were pretty much on point. Instead of shutting everybody down for so long, we pretty early identified who the people were really great at risk. We should have put more emphasis on protecting them and not shutting everything down. That was one of the lessons this guy came up. We said, but hey, it needed to happen. But going forward for the next pandemic, we now know that, look, let's start looking for what worked and what didn't work and how things change. So your perspective of the pandemic or our perspective of the pandemic dictates, how you view it. I do think that there is, I'm dealing with a lot of young people who were in middle school and early high school, that the pandemic affected them mentally in a very negative way. Yeah. It is, I have never dealt with so many anxiety cases in young people. It really increased anxiety. You have a bunch of anxious kids, young people right now. So it had its positives, it had its negatives, but we also learned the lessons. And your perspective, you get up every day and all you can do is put your perspective in order and go live that day. And if you do it the right way, as we said, the concept of having our tribe around us, or you get up and you go, and you no matter what, you keep that thing. Life, you will be successful. Life will bring that to you, and it's such an important factor when you realize we have a gift of today. We only have today. Tomorrow may or may not happen. Yesterday is irrelevant. But living in the power of now, living with the positive mindset, the outlook, and having the people surrounding you, that is the formula for success. It's undefeated. It is. There's a lot of people that argue with that. People can when last Monday was the day after Justin was in the hospital, and you had texted me, do you want to skip the show tonight? And I said, no, I'd like to do the show.
I remember.
And I want to do the show. First of all, Justin was fine, but that was a very stressful day for me. So I love doing the show. I was able to laugh, and it's just something that I was grateful to be able to do. So a lot of times having you in my tribe, and having the show in my tribe, and our audience in the tribe really helps me out as well. So I was absolutely, we're doing the show.
Which leads to the final point that I want to bring up, and you can bring your final points in afterward as well. But the final point I want to bring up is when we focus on trying to understand who our tribe is, what kinds of people we want in our tribe, what are the criteria for our tribe, why does that tribe serve us? When we're trying to answer all those questions, which are really important questions to ask, there's also another really important thing that I find makes all the difference in the world in terms of finding the tribe or not finding the tribe. And that is, how do I feel around the persons who I'm considering to be in my tribe?
Yes.
That feeling piece is probably the most important piece I can look at when it comes to understanding who's not only in my tribe, but who I want in my tribe. Because it makes it so simple. If I feel good with that person, I want them in my tribe. If I don't feel really, really good, I don't want them in my tribe. And I don't have to even analyze it. which I'm really good at. I can analyze something to death, but I don't have to analyze. Right? Yes,
you can.
I'm
Yes,
really good at it.
Yes,
but
you are.
The truth is, when you have that one rule to work with, does it feel good? Does this person feel good to me? I don't even have to analyze anymore.
No, the energy that you get from other people, that's to me the hook. And I want people that when I'm done talking, I feel better, I laugh, and they get things. And like I told you, I have all different types of people in my group, and some of them don't even understand why they're there. It's like why am I here? but there's an energy that's one of the things I love working with so many young people, as I mentioned earlier. They're naturally, they haven't yet been destroyed mentally by all the stuff going on in the world. They don't have a negative attitude. So that's why the most fascinating people in the world to me are kids between like 7 and 13, because they're very smart. They're so smart, and they have it's just such a great pure view. Now, once they hit puberty and they get all wacky and stuff, then it changes. But that energy during that time is some of the purest energy you'll ever feel. They'll tell you the truth. I always ask their opinion of everything. And there's a video that I saw that this little kid, he's probably 6 or 7, he was explaining sort of a stoic thought about how you respond to life. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever seen. And he states, life is not about what happens, it's how you respond to it. And he says it with this lispy little 6-year-old voice. And the interviewer said, well, yeah, I get it. And she explained, he goes, no, you don't understand at all. And then he explains it to her. And I'm like, yes, he gets it. He gets it. And, the idea that the younger you are, I think the closer you are to source energy. And, so I think there's an energy that is almost, you can't quantify. But it could be, I am very much an energy connoisseur. When I'm around the energy, I am attracted to people that put that off, that understand, they have that perspective. We're all going, this is the mission. We're here. We get up every day. We go do what we do. We do it with the people that make you feel good. Do it with the people that make you laugh. You do it with the people that have that perspective. When you bring that to the table, life it fixes so much. Life is so much more. There's so much more to savor in life. You look forward to things, and I know there's going to be ups and downs. It doesn't take away the ups and downs of life, but when you have that anchor of that solid tribe, it's so much easier to get through things.
It is. I'm actually. I said that was my last thought. Actually, it's not. I got one more thought I need to throw in here.
Okay.
Which is, it's really a remarkable thing how powerful it is to not only recognize that someone is in your tribe, but take action on it.
Yes.
And the reason I mention that is it's very easy to encounter somebody and you feel that resonance and you're kind of dumbstruck, like, wow, I feel this resonance. Yes. And then you don't do anything to carry it to the next step.
Yes.
Because I've done that you probably have too. And you actually have to stop yourself and say, wait a minute, this person is perfect for me. Do something to make the relationship take the next step.
Yes. Yes.
Because if you don't, you're going to lose it.
Well, yeah. And that's when people that are close to me know they are close to me. I tell them, first of all, I always tell them, but my actions speak. My actions, when you were going through the beginnings of your divorce, when things sort of fell apart, we talked immediately. Oh, yeah. We talked that night or the night after. I mean, I'm there. I was going to be there as you would be for me, no matter what. And so having those people and having that, and we didn't solve a lot that night, but we got to some just basic ways of thinking. How can you think about this? How can you do that? And then you were able to take that, and you had other team members in your group that you talked to, and you did a great job with that. And that's by having those people there. If you didn't have those people there, that would have been a much more difficult situation to get through, Walt.
I'm not sure how I would have gotten through,
Yeah.
to be perfectly honest, without the crew that I had. Because like you said, I had a wonderful crew, you and Cindy and a few other people too who were part of the podcast, my brother. I had a large contingent of really great people who were there for me. I don't know what I would have done if it hadn't been for that. I would not have been surprised if I had had some kind of a mental collapse without that group.
Yes.
And I think that probably would have happened in some form.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that we don't know how we respond. I do know when they're around what that does for me. So there's really nothing more valuable, but the people that, I'll say, when you have a phone call to make, and ask the question, if I dial this number, who's going to answer? And now there's always times, when I'm in session, my phone's upside down, I wouldn't be able to answer it anyway. But in general, if I get a call from my inner group, it gets answered. There's no, but if it's a random number, they never get answered. I laughed the other day. I got somebody tried to call me with a block number. I go, I don't answer unblocked numbers. I'm damn sure not going to answer this. Yeah, there's zero chance of that getting answered.
That's funny. That's
funny. Yeah. So, but there is nothing to me. Sort of this journey that we're on every day. I'm a big believer there is no real destination in life. The journey, the point of life has always been the journey for me. At least I didn't always realize that, but I now see that. And right up there with that is, who are the people that show up for your journey? Yeah. That's the fascinating piece. The people in my orbit, the odds of us even knowing each other are just so outrageous.
Right.
Because I was born in Florida. Never had an intent. There was never a moment in my childhood say, I want to end up in Richmond, Virginia. I didn't even know what that was. I mean, I heard of it, and but of the top 1,000 places in the United States I wanted to visit, Richmond did not make that list. It's just, I mean, Atlanta maybe, DC, but Richmond, like what? Ugh. And nonetheless, I ended up here, and I have the most incredible life, and I have the most incredible people in the world around me.
That's a wonderful way to sum it all up, because that's what the whole point of having the tribe is, to have
Absolutely.
Well, thank you once again for a wonderful conversation. We'll do this conversation about your tribe. We'll do that at multiple times in the future. But I'm glad we did this one today. So thank you much. Thank you, podcast listeners everywhere. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.